Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and parenting education coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
This is Brian Fulford. A.D. Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids' apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
I'm attorney Clinton Paris, and Tampa's my community. I grew up here, went to school here, and my wife and I make our home here. What makes Tampa special are its people. So when I represent someone injured in my community, it's personal. Call my office and speak to a real lawyer and not some referral service. I will fight the insurance companies to get the settlement that you deserve. At the law office of Clinton Paris, we take the pain out of being hurt.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
Sugar Chateau Desserts is a specialty bakery located in the Charlotte, North Carolina metro area. We will create delicious and one-of-a-kind treats for any occasion. Sugar Chateau is currently shipping cakes in a jar, offering a variety of different flavors in a single-serve container that can help you celebrate in accordance with social distancing. Place your orders today by calling 803-526-7895 or visiting sugarchateaudesserts.com.
Follow the Black College Sports Network and all of our shows on YouTube. You can find us at MyJBN Online and on all social media at MyBCSN1.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
Shop Velvet Online Women's Boutique to spice up your closet with trendy, unique looks. We have fashionable and chic looks at very affordable prices. Velvet Boutique offers free shipping all year long on all orders. Shop online at www.melvetboutique.com. That's www.melvetboutique.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram. Shop Velvet Online Women's Boutique.
Q-Time is a classic Atlanta soul food restaurant located in the historic West End. Q-Time Soul Food is a family business started by Fred and Christine Crenshaw. Come on in, relax, and sink your chops into our tantalizing, mouth-watering, distinctive soul food with a twist, the Q-Time way. 1120 Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard, or call your order in at 404-758-2881. Do you miss your mama's cooking? Then come on down to Q-Time, an Urban Passport member.
Have you had your Earth Blend coffee today? At Earth Blend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earth Blend Coffee.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
This is Brian Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids' apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
I'm attorney Clinton Paris, and Tampa's my community. I grew up here, went to school here, and my wife and I make our home here. What makes Tampa special are its people. So when I represent someone injured in my community, it's personal. Call my office and speak to a real lawyer and not some referral service. I will fight the insurance companies to get the settlement that you deserve. At the law office of Clinton Paris, we take the pain out of being heard.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
Sugar Chateau Desserts is a specialty bakery located in the Charlotte, North Carolina metro area. We will create delicious and one-of-a-kind treats for any occasion. Sugar Chateau is currently shipping cakes in a jar, offering a variety of different flavors in a single-serve container that can help you celebrate in accordance with social distancing. Place your orders today by calling 803-526-7895 or visiting sugarchateaudesserts.com.
Follow the Black College Sports Network and all of our shows on YouTube. You can find us at MyJBN Online and on all social media at MyBCSN1.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, My colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
Shop Velvet Online Women's Boutique to spice up your closet with trendy, unique looks. We have fashionable and chic looks at very affordable prices. Velvet Boutique offers free shipping all year long on all orders. Shop online at www.melvetboutique.com. That's www.melvetboutique.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram. Shop Velvet Online Women's Boutique.
Q Time is a classic Atlanta soul food restaurant located in the historic West End. Q Time Soul Food is a family business started by Fred and Christine Crenshaw. Come on in, relax, and sink your chops into our tantalizing, mouth-watering, distinctive soul food with a twist.
All right, everyone, welcome into another episode of Everyday People. I'm your host, Pete Almeida Jr., and I really hope, especially today, that y'all are staying safe and well and healthy. We still got the pandemic going on, as we know, but unfortunately, we have had winter weather, not only here, but most places around the country in some way, shape, or form. Here in Mississippi, I think we're in single digits, and we had a mix of a wintry mix, as they call it, of sleet, freezing rain, and some snow, and the ground is hard as a rock. So for those of you who don't know, I grew up on the East Coast, but I've been in Mississippi now this year 22. And so we don't have the same equipment as back at home in terms of salt trucks and things as such. So my street and the main street leading out of the subdivision is literally as hard as a brick. So nobody went anywhere today. I saw somebody getting sledded. Someone was on a sled getting pulled by a four-wheeler, which was real interesting. But in all seriousness, guys, please stay safe and healthy and well. And as I always say, at the end of the show, I'll fast forward it to the beginning here. Make sure you take time to check on somebody. It's very, very, very important that you check on your peoples. But anyway, welcome in to Everyday People. I want to say this real quick before we get rolling, because I want our guest to come on, and she'll be on shortly. If you saw on my page, Miss Joanne Bell, who's just a real renaissance woman. I actually don't know how she makes time to sleep, but we're going to get into that just because she's into so many things. But I want to say thank you. I really want to say thank you to everybody out there who took time out to look at last week's episode. That was a difficult one. That was a tough one. I shared a little bit about my story in terms of mental health and my personal story of going from a chaotic situation to more of one of calm and clarity, and kind of how and what the process was like. And the fact that I'm still on the journey. Mental health isn't something that you solve or figure out, right? It's something that you learn. It's something that you develop coping strategies, healthy coping strategies. And so thank you. I got a lot of feedback on that. And I really hope that the story was encouraging and that it was inspiring somebody, because especially when it comes to mental health, one of the things that I have found and I have experienced myself is that we oftentimes find ourselves alone, or we feel alone. And when we feel alone, we feel overwhelmed. And when we feel overwhelmed, we feel paralyzed, which means we don't do anything. And it's just this perpetual cycle, as I shared last week. That's something that happened to me when I was dealing with this stuff at my home. And of course, all the other feelings associated with it, shame, embarrassment. You don't want people to see you like this. That's not the person you want to be. Dealing with, okay, am I an imposter? Am I fronting? Those kind of things. So thank you. It really meant a lot to me for you to take time out of your schedule to view the episode. And some people shared it with other people and tag people. And that's really what we want to do here at Everyday People. There's a lot of noise, right? There's a lot of shows and there's a lot of information out on social media, on different platforms. There's some great content out there. And we want to make sure on this platform, number one, we use it responsibly. And more importantly, that we share and tell good stories. And then we share information and resources that are not just going to inform people. That's important. And not just to inspire people. Of course, I'm real big on inspiration. I love inspiration. But moreover, help them to give you guys practical tools and tips from our guest or from myself that are going to help you to take the next step. And if it doesn't help you directly, look, we all know somebody who's in a situation, in a place in life that they could use the resources. So look, I tell people, look, chew the meat and spit the bones out. You might not agree. You're probably not going to agree with everything that we share or everything our guest shares. This show is not about whether you agree with it, right, per se. It's about what is useful, what content is valuable, because the day we stop providing high value in terms of content, I'm not going to do the show anymore. That's really what the show is about. And again, just thank you guys so much. It means so much. I take it real personally. It was an encouragement, and thank you guys for the way you supported not only myself, but also was, bringing other people. And we had a really great conversation. If you haven't looked at the episode, seriously, take a minute, go back and look at it. There's some resources there. People are dealing with mental health issues. Again, as I said last week, I'll say it again today. You're not alone. You might feel alone. You may be by yourself in terms of physically, but you are not alone. There are many, many people out there who care about you, who want to support you, who want to help you. And if I can be a resource and we can use this platform to do that responsibly, that's what we're going to do. So again, thanks so much for doing that. We appreciate it. Well, guys, I have a special treat for you tonight. As I said in the intro, I have a friend of mine who I honestly don't know how you sleep. I honestly don't understand that, because this is a true definition of a Renaissance woman. She is a talk show host. She is a publisher of her own magazine. She hosts a show. She doesn't just have a talk show. She hosts a talk show. She publishes and writes for a magazine. She's a mom of a family. She has bonus children. She's an author. I mean, so many cool things. She has an annual conference. She has a Legends Ball, and we're going to get into some of those things. And that's how we met, and we'll get into that shortly. I'm just super excited to bring on our guest and for her, guys, to share her story with you about her journey, how she got involved in some of these projects. Her children are very creative too, and also involved in some artistic things. So I want us to get into it, just to hear her heart. Her heart is, the one thing that stuck out to me when I first met her on a project that I was able to work on with her was just her heart, man. Just humble and compassionate and gracious and loving and caring and just kind-hearted. So when we come back on the other side of the break, we're going to bring on our guest, Joanne Bell, and she's going to share her story. We're going to get into some of the meat and the nitty-gritty about some of the cool things she's doing, and hope that you guys would stay tuned, be a part of the conversation, and we'll be right back with Joanne Bell.
Have you had your Earth Blend coffee today? At Earth Blend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earth Blend Coffee.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
This is Brian Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
It's never too early to plant the...
Oh, there we are. All right, guys, we are back. Thank you guys again for joining us here tonight on Everyday People. And as I said in the opening, I appreciate you guys taking some time to join us. I know there's a lot going on. And so without further ado, as I said just a few minutes ago, I wanted to bring on our guest. And your resume is so humongous in bio, I typically kind of cover the highlights, but if you indulge me, guys, for just a second, I want to read it because I think it's so profound, and we'll get into some of the nuts and bolts. If we got into everything you did, we'd have to probably do 2 or 3 shows, Joanne. So we're just going to get into the meat of it and just jump right in. But guys, this is Joanne Bell. And guys, she's the founder of Woman to Woman with Joanne, the organization and the magazine, as I mentioned in the opening, as well as the Now Talk Show, which is a great show, an awesome show, very well done. She's a benefits advisor with Signet Health Plan. She loves singing and landed a performance on the world-renowned stage of the Apollo Theater, which I did know in '98. In 2012, she auditioned for Sunday's Best, where she made it to the second round of auditions. She's a member of the worship ministry at Pine Lake Church in Madison. She's landed numerous acting roles in Soul Damage, the movie, and extra in The Help, Girl Trip, and the TV show Nashville, and continues to sing at weddings, events, and special occasions. She's also an inspirational speaker, author, as I mentioned earlier, of the book. Her first book, Fear Was My Friend, and she shares stories of Mississippi women, which is awesome, by providing a platform through the monthly magazine, Woman to Woman with Joanne. In 2017, she was awarded the EPWA Businesswoman's Leadership Award. She also has numerous other awards. In addition, she's also a member of the Junior League Women for Progress of Mississippi and the Mississippi Women in Network. She hosts the Mississippi Legends Ball annually, honoring women who fought during the civil rights movement and women who make impact in their communities, and also the Woman to Woman with Joanne's annual empowerment conference. On top of all that, she's the mother of Antonetta, Antonio Jr., Joshua, Jemiah, and 4 bonus children, Jamin, Jeremiah, Zacharias, and Jordan. You got a whole half a football team right there.
Just about.
And they are allowing their own lights to shine. And I love this, and making a difference in the world in their own way. What's happening, Joanne? How you doing?
I'm doing
great.
Are
you okay? You good?
I'm good.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you taking time out of what you just heard, ladies and gentlemen, was a super busy schedule to be with us. I appreciate it. Well, hey, let's just jump right into the conversation. For those of you who don't know, those of the audience who don't know, can you just tell us a little bit about your story, upbringing? We know you're from Mississippi, but a little more in detail so that we can kind of get a sense of who you are, and then we'll just jump into the specifics, as I mentioned earlier, some of the stuff that you're currently doing.
Okay, awesome. So I am born and raised in Georgetown, Mississippi, in a little community called Brusher Creek. And whenever I tell people Georgetown, they think Georgetown Jackson. And I always tell people I didn't even know there was Georgetown Jackson.
Right, yes, there is.
Yeah, and I'm from down south, Copiah County. We were like in the middle. So you got Georgetown. We had the Georgetown phone number and the we had the Georgetown address and the Crystal Springs phone number. So I graduated from Crystal Springs High School.
Nice.
Yes. So born and raised there. Moved to Madison in 2009, and many kids have been here since. So I've been. Let me see. I worked for the state of Mississippi for 10 years, and in 2004, I'll call it retired, but I just didn't want to work in an office anymore. So I've been a life and health licensed agent since 2004. So that's what I've been doing ever since, sales.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sweet. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's funny because when I first read it, I thought the exact same thing. I'm like, I know what Georgetown is. I know some people from there. In fact, I don't know if you do this, but back when I came to Mississippi, we actually had a health clinic in Georgetown, right around the corner from Lanier High School in the Georgetown area of Mississippi. Okay. So that's just our own bias here. But appreciate you clarifying it. But see, you Mississippi through and through.
Yeah, no.
So you born,
country girl.
Yeah, ain't nothing wrong with that. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But let's jump into some of the specifics about your story. So one of the things that you do is singing. How did you develop a love, an appreciation, a value for the arts? Was singing something that was like part of your family? Was it something I know a lot of people do just by going to church? How did you get into that and performing, and just how did you get that artistic bug, if you will?
Well, my grandmother sings. She sang when she was here. Of course, she's not among us anymore. Mm-hmm. But my grandmother sings. My dad sings. He doesn't sing like out anywhere, but he can sing. And then my aunt sings. So I think just parts of different people in my family could sing. And I just kind of stepped out and tried to do a little bit more. I remember my first time singing at church. We were apostolic. Testimony. So I remember singing, what's the name of that song? I can't even think of the name of the song that I did, but I stepped out and sang my little song during the testimony time and been singing ever since out. But we used to have a group, we called ourselves the Stand for Kids, and we all used to try to sing at different churches and stuff. So. But yeah, I was singing in school and high school and things like that. And, you know, I was nervous about going to Apollo, but the way I got to Apollo is that they had this thing called Showtime at Jackson. And so
really?
I did that in 98, and then I went to Apollo from there. Yeah.
Sweet. That's awesome. And by the way, you're an amazing singer, y'all. I've heard her sing. It'll just blow you away, man. It'll make you, well, it'll get in you, man. I'm telling you. So you have an amazing gift of singing. Tell us a little bit how did you come up with the concept or idea of Woman to Woman, the magazine with Joanne? How did that, tell us the impetus of that.
So let's start with the organization, because the organization came first, and that's okay. In October of 2014. I remember I was in a house, you know, of course, living in Madison, and just going through stuff that women go through, just frustrated about different things, and feeling like I didn't have a voice. And I felt like God led me to start a Facebook page, Woman to Woman with Joanne Facebook page. So when I started the page, and I tell this story often, God told me to name it Woman to Woman with Joanne, and I put Woman to Woman, and he was like, no. I said Woman to Woman with Joanne, because I really don't like the light to be on me as much, because, you know, you know how sometimes we support other people, but, you know, it's hard for us to kind of put our own selves out there. But God was like, no. I said Woman to Woman with Joanne. And when I did that, I started seeing all these other Woman to Woman. I was like, so with Joanne sets it apart from all the other Woman to Womans.
Right, absolutely.
And so on that page, I was able to, God challenged me to share my opinions about, and my, you know, what I was going through, any situation that I was going through. He challenged me to be vulnerable and share those things out there to encourage other people. And by me trying to encourage them, they would start to say, oh my God, this really helped me. You don't know how much this helped me. I needed to hear this right now. Then they started actually encouraging me, you know. So in 2015, that's when we had our first conference, Woman to Woman with Joanne Empowerment Conference. And it was amazing to see. I remember when I first started selling the tickets and people were buying tickets, I was like, oh my God, they bought tickets. Somebody bought a ticket. It was just really empowering to me to see that people would give you an opportunity to try and empower them with your story or with the vision that God has placed on the inside of you. So during that first conference, it was just amazing to me to see the women come. Wasn't a huge crowd, but everybody that was supposed to be there was there, and everything that was meant to happen happened, and it happened beautifully. And there are relationships that were started in 2015 that are still going strong today for people who, if they hadn't been there, they would never have met each other. So that's what the conferences are all about. There are probably like 4 or 5, maybe 6 people who are regulars when I have my conference, but it's like different people that come every year. And they're building those relationships, those lasting relationships with women who say, hey, I've been where you've been. I understand where you are. I can help you. Let me walk with you. You don't have to walk alone. That's the ultimate goal of Woman to Woman with Joanne, is to show you that we women here in Mississippi, we can get along. We can support each other. We're not always at each other's throats. You under the bus, as they say, but our ultimate goal is to support each other. You know, and that's what I want to show in the magazine, on the talk show, and during these conferences, that we can support each other and we can have each other's back.
Yeah, I really appreciate you. I can hear it in your voice now. Still, you still got the same fire and the same passion. I think that's really important. It's interesting how everything starts with a seed, right? God planted that little seed in you, and out of that seed, you decided to take a steep step of faith, and out of just doing a Facebook, group, it sounds like I hear, providing a platform, a space for women to share. And it's kind of one of them things where a lot of people they're going through a lot of things, but it's not until one person take that step out as you did and starts to be vulnerable. And then that almost like a domino, like people feel like, oh, okay, I'm not the only one. And then they begin to share their story and then they feel safe. And I think that sounds like what you were doing with the Facebook page. And then you parlay that and say, hey, you know what? Let's bring these women together face to face so we can talk about issues. And if you remember, that's how I met you. I don't know if you remember that, but
which one did we meet at? Was it?
I think the one at the planetarium. I think that was that 2017?
Yes.
Yeah, the one at the planetarium. We did it was myself, April was in there, Phil Washington, and Stephen Brandon, and so I was. They did that. Remember, I think you all were singing Alabaster Box.
Yeah, we did a lot of different. So I wrote several different skits, and I needed some actors, and you were one of the not the wise men, but the one when Mary came and
that's right,
singing Alabaster Box. That
was
right. Awesome. That was
awesome. I was just felt so empowered and inspired just to be there amongst like-minded people. And then I think something you said is so true, is that you don't know the relationships that are formed. Out of that came those connections and relationships. In fact, Stephen Brandon just helped me do something. He helped me develop a flyer for something. And so, and Philip, and I know they've done other things and been able to support them, April, you know what I mean? And I think that's cool that it's of course centered around women, but you provide a platform where people can come in and connect and build those relationships. And I like what you said about women. Oftentimes people get criticized, especially I have found in Mississippi, well, women can't work together because they're crabs in a barrel, and this one wants this one, and everyone wants to be on the front stage, and no one wants to support, blah, blah, blah. And you're just like, some of that is true, but at least you're providing a platform for people to get out and express themselves. What kind of things do you talk about specifically in the magazine? Like, is there a particular theme, or how do you get ideas of what is it? Because, you could cover so many things. How do you get ideas for what it is that you want to cover in your magazine?
Well, it just depends. Sometimes we may have a theme. Like one of my favorite issues was back in 2018 when there were so many women running for political office. And the title of it says, "We the Women." I love that cover. I love everything that's in there. And the most exciting thing was that it wasn't just women from Jackson, Mississippi, but it was women all over Mississippi who was running for these offices, and we have their stories inside the magazine. So I think that magazine ended up being so thick, but it's really beautiful issue, and I love looking back at it because there are so many women who had a passion behind running for this political office, the way they saw things should be, and they wanted to do something about it. Even if they didn't win, they put forth an effort to show, hey, I think this needs to be done, and I think I'm the person to do it. And they stepped out, and they ran for that office. So those stories are in print forever. Even after they're gone, even after
I love it.
Somebody can go back and see that and read that Mississippi history, because it was. And then there was one where so many women judges were elected that year, and Judge Grove and Judge Green. I love Judge Green and Crystal Wise Martin. All of them were in the magazine. It was just beautiful. So sometimes we have a theme. Sometimes we just want to share stories of Mississippi women who just have a story, and you may just need to be encouraged. And you read these stories of women who've been through, domestic violence or lost babies and had to, adopt. So there's so many different stories and so many different things that we're just looking for, and a story of inspiration to inspire women, not just in Jackson, Mississippi, but all over the world. So the magazine is international, with women and people reading the magazine all over the world. So that is what excites me, that everybody is able to read this magazine.
Yeah, I would high five you if I was sitting next to you right now, because I love the passion, and I think that's the kind of folks that we want to bring on this show, like so passionate about that. And I agree. I read the magazine and some of the articles, and just to be able to highlight people and be able to give women especially women in Mississippi, a platform, because typically sometimes, I guess it's like anywhere, people talk about women in Mississippi, you have your ones that you kind of highlight, you know what I'm saying? But to give people maybe you haven't heard before a platform and a voice. And as you said, internationally, because you could be, up north where I'm from, out west, or in Africa or Europe, and you realize, there are different cultures and different geographic, distinctions. But the issues a lot of women are dealing with are very similar. And for people to connect, like you said, and to feel like, oh, okay, it's not just me, like I said earlier, I think that's real powerful.
Right. Women are women, white, black, Mexican, Spanish, whatever. Women are women, and we all go through things, and we all, we all have a story. And if we can come together and share those stories and just, empower each other just by telling a story. Sometimes all it takes is somebody hearing this one line or one word that you may say that will encourage them to keep moving forward. Sometimes that's all it takes to say, man, I can do it. She can do it. I know I can do it. And that just
absolutely
empowers women to keep moving. And some men, I was looking at my analytics on Facebook where it shows you how many people and where they're from and all that. And 20% of the men, well, it's like 85% women and 15% men. If I'm saying it right, I ain't good at math, y'all. But it's like 15 to 20% of the readers and people watching the show are men. And I was like, wow, I wasn't expecting that. But, there are men who need to be inspired and encouraged too. And some of our stories inspired them. Some of them grew up with just a one parent home with a mom. And now, and us telling these stories may help them to understand what their mom was going through when she was trying to raise them as a single mom,
Absolutely. There's, all of us can learn. I think that's it's very important. I think, some of us are with women where we need to figure out, like, I got to understand this and I don't have a frame of reference, like being able, like you said, to hear those stories, like, oh, like you said, now I understand why they might be like this or how they're like this. Or, it helps, I think, in all relationships to be able to do that,
Right.
Yeah. So. I think, speaking of stories, one of the coolest things that I have seen, and I was thinking about this before we came on, and I still get goosebumps, is when you did that Legends Ball. That thing, I'm telling you, that thing blew me away. And I wanted you to share with everybody a little bit more about, again, how'd you get the idea to do that? Tell people a little bit about I'll give you a little snippet, y'all. So part of it is honoring of Mississippi legends who are real prominent in the civil rights movement. As we said earlier, they might not be the most prominent names. They may not be the Fannie Lou Hamers, though. The year I was there and I was a part of it, Samala, I think she portrayed Fannie Lou, and it just blew me out of the water, where these people who were actors did these monologues, if you would, of these first person recollections of these historical Mississippi women. Honestly, I'm not joking. I'm a big history fan. And to see someone, I felt like they were talking to me. These historical figures, some who are here and some aren't, were speaking to me. And it moved me. Like I was emotional, and you know what I'm saying? Like I was inspired. I felt like I wanted to hug them and say thank you. So tell us, I know I'm running down with it. So why don't you tell us, how did you get the idea for that, and a little bit more about what exactly it is?
Well, God has always given me these ideas, and I was telling somebody the other day, maybe I should just, slow down, because it's like God will show me something and I just take off running, I was like, oh, Lord. But it was like He showed me that there are women, just like when I started the magazine, I would see the same people in the magazines all the time. And I'm like, surely there are more people here in Mississippi who have a story. So when God gave me the idea to honor these women and I was looking for women who were in the background. I was actually looking for women who were making the food for the people who were going out on the front line. I was looking for the women who were keeping the children while the other people went out on the front line. But I found these women who were a part of the movement who it's like, I didn't know I hadn't heard of their names, but like tomorrow night on the show at 7, watch, we're going to have Miss Frankie Adams Johnson, and she was a Black Panther.
Nice.
I was just so excited.
Come on.
Her, on the show, but she was one of the first ones that we honored in 2017. Miss Frankie Adams Johnson, the Black Panther. Miss Dolores Williams was a freedom rider.
That's right. I remember her. Yep.
Orbra. Yeah, Miss Orbra, who integrated Hardy Middle School at 10 years old. You know, there were so many beautiful stories. And I was actually watching the Legends Ball today because I was trying to share a snippet of Miss Frankie before we air the show tomorrow. And to see the tears of the women who had not been honored before in that way, you know, they were like, Miss Frankie was like, she wished her mom was there because her mom was like, you know, y'all, all of the stuff that y'all did and nobody really recognized you guys or paid attention to you. And she said, for you to honor us tonight was just amazing. And all of the tears that were there, it was just beautiful. It was so beautiful, Pete. And God just gave me that idea. He was like, we need to honor women, Mississippi, who fought during the civil rights movement, who have not been recognized in a special way. And so I was thinking about how to do it. And I think Mitch was telling me about a ball that Oprah Winfrey did. She called it Legends or something like that.
Yep, she sure did.
I wish I could do something like, so we just named it the Mississippi Legends Ball. And it's women from here in Mississippi who have made an impact in our communities, who fought for our civil rights, who who just changed the way things are for us, fought for our right to vote, fought for our right to march and do all the things that we have the freedom to do now. And we just wanted to honor them. And so that's where it started in 2017. And then we did one in 2018 and 2019. 2019 was, now 2017 was awesome. 2018, we had 100 Miss Leola Dillard. She was 106, I think, when we did her, 6 or 7.
Wow.
We honored her, and she was still in her right mind. And, you know, whenever I went to go and see her, she knew my name.
Oh my God.
Call me that little pretty black girl, you know. It's awesome.
That's amazing.
Like sitting at the feet of these women and hearing the history that they have in here. And I would love to be the one to preserve that history in the magazine and even on video and at these balls. So that it just fills my heart. Yeah.
That's so amazing. Yeah, I remember the year I was there, they had Miss Dolores Williams was one of the honorees. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was the first Black female policewoman in Jackson.
Vicki McNeil.
Yeah. That was the year I was there, and like I said, it was just eerie because it was somebody portraying them, but I was just like, you know, and I was emotional. I was grateful. I was overwhelmed, especially not being a native of Mississippi, being able to hear, like you said, these stories of these courageous women who, you know, not only gave women, but all of us, especially, you know, at the time, people of color, these opportunities. Like, we have nothing to be but grateful. And I think I was inspired to just keep doing what I was doing and keep fighting and keep supporting. And the fact that you gave these women this voice through that is awesome. It seems like you just get these ideas, as you said, and just roll with them. And I respect that about you. I'm really excited about which is a good segue, checking out the episode of tomorrow. So now you're doing this show, and I will say it is really well done. I know a couple of people, Pam Jr. was on there. My friend who I've known was one of the first people I met here, believe it or not, Cassandra Welton, who I met 22 years ago. I think she was like one of the first 5 people that I met. Dr. Green, I believe, was on, Carlotta Franks. So I knew some of the people who were doing that. How did you parlay the magazine? How did you parlay that into the show?
You know what? My favorite part of doing the magazine is the interviews.
Yeah.
The hard part is turning it into a story.
Right.
So I think we just kind of cut out the middleman in some areas, but this also gives me a chance to reach other people, because I can put a lot of stories in the magazine, but you know, having the talk show, it really gives me a chance to do what I really and truly love, and that's hearing these empowering stories, these inspiring stories, and being able to just share these stories. So I have been trying to do a talk show since 2016.
Wow.
I've been trying to do a talk show,
Wow.
but it just wasn't time. It would never turn out the way I wanted it to turn out. In 2018, I do believe we filmed like 3 or 4 shows. I think I had Helen Brown and Salika, Corley Funches, and I got to try to get them back on there because their stories were amazing. And there was another young lady who was actually human trafficked herself and was and escaped. So I have those stories, but it just didn't turn out right, so I could share them. So, but I remember it was during the pandemic, of course, and my daughter was babysitting for Mark Davis. And I remember him texting me saying, hey, because I had started doing the reading the Bible with Joanne at night.
Yes.
It was God getting me ready for something because I was always terrified to do a live video, always afraid I didn't know what to say. So God just prepared me by doing the reading the Bible with Joanne. So he texted me and he was like, hey, are you interested in doing a weekly show? I was like, yeah, and September 8th, we did our first show with Rita Brent. And it was absolutely
yeah, great show, great show, man. Yes.
So God has just been in the midst of all of this, and I would not dare want to do anything without him leading it and guiding it. Before I came on here tonight, I had to go and pray. I'm like, Holy Spirit, just have your way. You say what you want to say. I don't want any of the glory, because at the end of the day, when he says, I want to hear him say, well done, my good and faithful servant. I don't want to be getting all the accolades down here. I want my gift when I go.
Hey, listen now, you can turn this into church now. I'm in this room by myself now. I can get up out of my chair and watch out.
Yes.
Hold it.
So,
yes, ma'am.
I just want God to lead everything in my life. And I don't do everything right. I make mistakes. I make sometimes bad decisions or things like that. But at the end of the day, his grace and his mercy covers me. And I'm learning that every single day. That no matter what I do, no matter how good I am, no matter how bad I am, I cannot lose his love. I can't earn his love because he is love. That's who he is. He can't be anything else but that,
Man, okay. I'm just going to sit here, man, let you take over. No, I hear you. I hear you, and I agree. And as I said prior to your coming on, one of the things I do appreciate about you is you're the same person in terms of your character. I think your character is above reproach in terms of your humility. And I know that's the kind of person you are, that you have pushed these people and you have used your platform to give voice and give sight to these people that honestly, many people probably wouldn't know about. Like, even like I said, going back to the Legends Ball, these women, I was like, I had no idea. And I think a lot of people were just like, wow. And even to show these women who are coming to share their stories and listen to their voices, and just being able to have that kind of platform. And it's amazing. It's really, I'm telling you, man, I'm inspired by it. It's very well done. I like the way you have it set up. It's simple, and you just kind of sit back and kind of facilitate and guide the conversations. And I can tell, one of the things that I can tell with all the guests that I have seen, and what I have saw, is people feel comfortable with you. And I think that's a gift, man. I want to encourage you. That's a gift that you have, and want to keep telling you to do that. It's very important, because, man, if you have a show and I know we're going off grid a little bit, but not really. If you have a show and you too stuffy, or people feel like you're too formal or whatever, and they can't really relate to you, then you're not probably going to get the kind of content where you want for your audience. But when people feel comfortable with you and they feel safe, that's when people begin to open up, and you learn a lot about people. I mean, just take, for example, a show like Red Table Talk. It's such a simple concept, but they took a simple concept, and people get out there, and it's just, it's not emotional vomiting. It's just people feeling comfortable and safe to share their stories because of the way Jada and her mama and Willow and they created that atmosphere. And I think you do this very similar thing on your show. So, I just want to encourage you, continue to do that. How do you find your guests? Like, how do you figure out, like, okay, these are the kind of people that these are the guests I want on my show?
Some people reach out to me. Some people are referred to me. I see people and I'm like, man, this is a story that needs to be shared. Just like with the magazine, somebody will say, hey, you need to hear this story. And if the story gives me goosebumps, or if it's like, oh my God, we got to share this. Just like with Joy Bradford, who was on the show. I didn't even know who Joy was, but I saw this video being shared of this little baby ringing the bell because she had defeated cancer. I was like, oh my God, I gotta get them on the show. And to have Joy come on the show, and she told the story about her baby being diagnosed with B-cell lymphoma, if I'm saying that correctly. But she said that even though it was her daughter who had cancer, that journey was for her and her husband to go along with her daughter, because it helped them grow their faith. It helped their relationship become stronger, because during that time, especially when a child is ill, or if a child is, it kind of messes with the relationship. It strains the relationship. So just to hear her come on, tell her story, share her story in such a passionate way, it was just beautiful. So we're just looking for stories that are going to empower and encourage each other, and everybody, not just women, but so there are people who I've still yet to get to. Some of them may be in the magazine, some of them may be on the show. Either way, I want to share their story. If they feel that they have a short story to tell, I want to be able to share those stories.
Yeah. And I think they're so pertinent and so relevant and add so much value to people's life. As we said in the beginning, when people feel like they have that relatability, they're not the only one. Like you said, that's going to give them hopefully the courage and the hope to just keep on going.
Yes.
Like if they can overcome it, if they went through it, because how one of the things I said last week, Joanne, was, when we on social media, a lot of people, put on their best face, right, their best self. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got lighting behind me, I got lighting in front of this camera, whatever, just to enhance the atmosphere. But the reality is, we all have stories. Some stories we don't know. Everybody has a story, and we're not always put that best face. So to be able to get people on who are willing to really give you the nuts and bolts of who they really are when the camera's on, if you will, and for people to hear that, there's a big kind of aha, like, wow, I didn't know this about this person. I didn't know this person went through this. Because, you can look at where a person's at, but unless you kind of find out their story and where they've come from, you would never know of how they arrived, currently where they're at. So appreciate that work that you're doing. Can you tell us a little bit about your book? Like I said, I called you a Renaissance woman. I don't know if you were listening at the time, but in the beginning, I said, I don't know how you sleep, number one. Number two is you are a Renaissance woman because you got so much going on. Can you tell us about the book? And I was really a powerful title. Fear Was My Friend. It's something that I can be honest and say that I have wrestled with since probably I was a child and even into my adult life with various things and traumas, that happened to me. So can you tell us a little about that book and what inspired you to write that and what you're hoping to get out of it and give to your readers?
Well, I'm going to say this. Last week, I was invited to this group of women. They used my book as their book club of
Sweet.
For the month. Whatever.
That's awesome. Yeah. Book club. So, absolutely. Yeah.
There was one woman who was on there, and she was just so quiet at first, and then she started talking. And then she kept talking, and then she cried, and she said, I probably need to get a lawyer because this is my story that you're telling, and things like that. But they told me that this lady never talks during the meeting. But when she read the book, she said the book, it gave her so much courage because she felt like she was the only one that went through the things that I talk about in the book about fear being my friend, because I did start to consider fear as my friend at different points in my life. And growing up, fear had always been there. It was that, don't you go there, don't do that, don't talk to them, don't go, that kind of thing. And I felt like it was comforting me at certain times. And so I did become to think of fear as my friend. But then when I wrote that book, Pete, fear became that friend who they were your friend as long as you were doing what they wanted you to do. But then when you said no, they started pushing you down, tripping you, then asking you what's wrong, what you doing on the ground, what's wrong, Fear became that type of friend. Fear really became enraged, and it started. That's when my real struggle started with fear. I thought I was struggling with fear my whole life, but when I released that book, that's where my struggle really started. So in the book, I talk about how I remember being a little girl And I had to be this little girl, because I remember I went to stay with my grandma in the 4th grade, so it was long before that. But I remember going in the kitchen. We had this big window in the kitchen, and I would always go in there and daydream and things like that. So I remember looking at the stove, and I just cleaned the stove. I remember scrubbing and cleaning that stove until it was white. And then when my dad got home, I remember going to get him, grab him by the hand, lead him into the kitchen, and he was like, "Oh, look at you, did such a good job on this stove," and da da da, just went on and on and on, and gave me this shiny quarter. And I was like, "Yeah, I got a quarter." So of course, time went on, and I was in the kitchen again doing my little daydreaming, and I saw the stove and needed to clean it a little bit again. So I started cleaning, and then I did the same little thing when he got my dad. But this time when he came in and he looked at the stove, and he looked at me, he had a frown on his face the whole time, and he looked at me, and then he just turned and walked away. Now, as a grown woman, I know that my dad had a bad day at work, or something had happened. But that little girl, I was like, well, maybe I didn't clean it good enough, or maybe I need to clean it again. So I felt like I had been scrubbing that stove my whole life. I'm scrubbing the stove, trying to get it clean. And I remember being on The Heart of the Matter with Carlotta Taylor. You can stop scrubbing that stove. Now the stove is clean, And so God has really been working on me. Again, I don't claim to be totally free from anything. I feel like sometimes I just go into hiding when I feel uncomfortable or something like that. But God is working on me. I see it. And that's the most important thing. I see that God is working on me, and he's changing me from the inside out every day, because we all have our own, insecurities from when we were a kid, and we carry it over in adulthood, and it dictates how we do things. It dictates what relationships we're going to allow in our lives. It dictates, the things that we're going to allow to happen to us. But as we continue to grow, I remember I was 10, and I may be just going rambling or whatever, but I remember when I was 10.
You good. You are good.
I accepted the Lord. I accepted the Lord into my life. And people were like, well, how can you accept the Lord, but then still accept fear as your friend, or still consider fear your friend? We all have our battles and what we have to do, and we do whatever we think is comfortable for us. But I remember as clear as day being at Jackson Revival Center with Reverend Pastor Raymond O'Beard preaching, and they're playing the music, and Jennifer right behind me rubbing my back and talking and praying for me, and how the Holy Spirit took over, and I spoke in tongues, and I received the Holy Spirit that day. I remember it just like it was yesterday. And I know that God has had his hand over my life ever since that day. And so being able to release fear, to break up with fear with that book, it was life-changing. And it is a fight every day. Fear is always going to try to stick his ugly nose in my face, but I have a choice. I have a choice to decide, I'm going to let fear lead me, or I'm going to let God lead me. I have to choose that every single day, because fear is not just going to go away just because you wrote a book. Fear ain't going to just
with
go
you. I'm tracking. I'm right there with you. I want to shout right now. I got my arms full. I'm just listening. I'm just listening to this, man. I'm telling you, it's you listen, you reading my mail. You are reading my mail. When you said that, I thought of many people don't know, but when I was growing up, my pops, for a season of his life, was an alcoholic, you know what I mean? And I remember being afraid of my own father, because when you deal with someone who has substance issues, there's a lot of unpredictableness.
Yeah.
Like one time it's a Jekyll and Hyde situation, at least in my case. And I'm not trying to downplay my pops. And I know some people going on here know my pops. Don't y'all don't go run and tell my pops I'm trying to dog him. I'm just as far as the story. So, some days he'd come and he'd be straight. Other days he'd be just fired up. And, when you deal with people with issues like that, that's unpredictable. They could be yelling, they could be hollering, they could be nice, they could be kind. And I remember that fear. And I was probably around your age, maybe 10, 11 years old. And it carried over with me. And one of the things that I realized growing up, and I'm sure you can attest to this, and this may, I don't want anyone out there, especially people who are real spiritually connected, if that's your thing, to feel like I'm downplaying it. But in my experience, you cannot outrun trauma. You can't outpray trauma, and you cannot pray away trauma. Now, I will say there are some things obviously that the Creator can heal us of. But in terms of trauma, at least in my life, I've had to be able to work through that. And I think you said something, sis, so powerful. And it just like, yes, you said every day you got to get up and make a choice. You know, it's like it's right there. It doesn't go away. It's not something that disappears. Are you going to be willing to make that courageous choice every single day? I'm so glad you said that, because I think some people think, oh, just I'm not afraid or whatever. No, sometimes you probably hear this cliche, you got to do things when you're afraid. You're not going to dispel all fear. Even people of faith, you have to take that step of faith. I'm sure you weren't just all bells and whistles and doing jumping jacks when you stepped out and did this show you're doing or wrote the book, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you made a choice every day to do it. And I'm glad you said that. I think that's really important.
You have to make a choice every day. And no, it's like sometimes even I was talking to somebody and I was telling them, up until the time that I opened my mouth to say, welcome to the 5th annual Woman to Woman We're Doing Empowerment Conference, my heart is beating out of my chest, because I'm like, is this going to go the way I want it to go, or the way it needs to go? Is somebody going to show up, or is somebody going to mess up, or is this going to go this way? So there's always that fear that's trying to stop you. But when you make that decision that I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it afraid, do you know how much stuff I do afraid?
Come on now. Hey, listen, I'm right there with you, man. Yes, ma'am.
We have to do it afraid, but knowing that all the way, Psalms 91, God is with us. He'll never leave us. He'll never forsake us. He is always there. Always. Even when you feel like there's nobody there for you, nobody understands, nobody loves me. You know, we get into
I know.
thing, but God is like, I'm here, baby. You are never alone. You know, I'm right here. And if you allow me, I will be whatever you need me to be. Whatever.
I love it. Yeah, you know, there's a quote by the great Nelson Mandela. I'm not sure if you've heard it before. And it's not verbatim, but it basically says something along the lines of, there's no failure, there's only learning.
Right.
You know, there's no failure, there's only learning. So everything that you think is a failure, because you think of failure, automatically your brain starts filling your mind with negative things. See, you couldn't do it, you messed up. Like you said, you didn't do the intro right, you stumbled over your word, you said too many times, you said, you did too many hand gestures, you hit the table, you didn't write this right. You only had 3 people watch the show, you know, only one, you know what I'm saying? Like, you could just take that and go with it. And instead of being like, yeah, but you know something, Fear? I did it.
Yes.
I did it. I stepped out and did it. Right, exactly. And matter of fact, not only did I did it, I'm coming back next week and do it again.
I'm going to do it all over again. So you just be mad.
Yeah, so I think that's important.
As the kids used to say.
Exactly. Right. But I think like you said, it's something that you got to keep coming back to the table. You got to steer it in the face. And I think when you're dealing with fear, you have to develop, you know, one of the things I'm big about is helping people develop healthy coping mechanisms. Because, you know, there's unhealthy coping mechanisms, avoidance, burying your head in the sand, whatever things or time or devices or whatever you want to abuse. That doesn't make fear go away. No. The thing that makes fear go away, you got to stare it in the face, and you have to deal with it, and you have to confront it. And it's not easy all the time. You know, when David slung that slingshot, people think, he just, you know, I'm sure there was some trembling. I mean, you know, Dave was a little runt, and this dude's 9 feet tall, and he pulled that slingshot back. You know what I'm saying? I think we just think, well, David killed a bear in the line. I'm sure Dave was trembling his heart a little bit. We didn't see David's, you know, like you said, before you do the conference, your heart's beating in your chest 5 minutes before you start the conference.
Yes, you know, we were thinking about the same person, David, and I was thinking about David, how, you know, when you say we have to confront fear, David saw this big giant, but David didn't walk to him. He didn't walk shaking and trembling. David ran. He took off and he ran to meet it head on. And that's how we have to try to get to the point where we're even if we're not running to face it, at least we're ready to face it. And we're like, Lord, I'm scared, but you haven't given me a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. And I'm going to stand on that, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do this. And if it don't turn out right, then at least I know it wasn't you and I tried.
Exactly. And I think one of the things you said in that, this last sentence was so powerful was you have to acknowledge it. I think sometimes I'll just use me. I'm always going to come back to me. In my experience, I have heard people say something online as well. Just forget about your feelings or deny your feelings. No, I think it's okay for us to acknowledge I am afraid. That's different than being paralyzed by it where you can't move. If you say, hey, like you said, hey, I am, yeah. Heck, I am afraid. I don't know how this is going to turn out, but I'm still going to go forward and do it and see how it goes. I think people just bypass emotions. I don't know if you saw the whole episode last week, but one of the things I said was I was talking about when Lazarus passed away. When Lazarus died, Jesus didn't just be like, yeah, I know I'm going to raise him from the dead, so I'm not going to show any emotion. No, he showed emotion because his friend had died, and that was real emotion. He wept. You know what I'm saying? And so you have to acknowledge the emotion. You could acknowledge your fear, but then still, like you said, be able to move forward anyway in the face of how you're actually feeling.
Right, exactly. And even in that story that you talk about when Jesus wept, I heard a preacher preached about one time. He said Jesus didn't really weep because he was sad, because he knew Lazarus wasn't really dead, but he wept because of the lack of faith that Mary and Martha had. When he came and when it came to the brother, because they were angry at him. Where were you, Jesus? Where were you when he happened? Now, this is just one person I heard preach it that way, but they said Jesus was just so angry that he wept because he grunted, and he was so angry that he wept. Now, again, I only heard one person preach that, but that's something to think about, because when we question who we are, when we think that we're not good enough, when we compare ourselves to other people, or when we try to be just like somebody else, try to be a carbon copy of somebody else instead of being who God truly created us to be, I believe that breaks his heart, that we don't think that he knew what he was doing when he created us. So we don't appreciate what he did, who he created us to be. And I believe it breaks his heart when we feel like we're not good enough. Now, I'm not bashing anybody, because sometimes I feel like, Lord, I am not smart enough to do this.
Right.
But I know that when we can't, because I've thought about this over and over, and it's like, I know I'm not perfect, but when God created me, he created me perfect in his sight. So I may not be perfect, but I was perfect for what he designed me to be. That makes me perfect in his eyes,
Absolutely. We're all flawed originals, man. We're all original. We're all original. We're just like today, I was outside and it was a snowflake on my girl's daughter's jacket, and it was like, she looked at it and it was like an original snowflake. Every little snowflake is different. You know what I mean? Like, every one of us is different. We're original. We're not a carbon copy, but we're flawed in that too, right? We're flawed or whatever. And then we have to accept that. And the fact that, all of humanity is flawed. And if the quicker we accept it, I tell people all the time, is that comparison is a thief of destiny. You want to lose your destiny quick, man? You just look, especially in this platform, you look at it and you be like, oh, well, I'm not this person. Well, this person doing this. And you want to be honest, you can look at a show, be like, man, this person got some really good graphics and their lighting's fine, flyer. And, it's okay to acknowledge, hey, man, I love your show. Your setup is nice. Yeah. But I don't compare our shows because they're different. There's a different emphasis and focus. It's like, no, how can I support my sister? I'm trying to compare myself, because people lose their destiny because their energy is not focused on what they're supposed to be doing. They're focused on the person instead of what they should be doing, which is crazy.
I was talking to my son, and he was talking about how he's doing bodybuilding now. And
I saw a video, man. He looks good, man. He looks good, yo.
That maybe somebody was choosing somebody else over him or whatever. But I'm like, son, you can't compare what they're doing to what you're doing. Even if that's just like, some people will say, I started doing this first and now they're doing it, I'm just gonna stop doing it. Not me. I'm glad I was able to inspire you to do what I'm doing, but I'm not gonna stop, because I know it's in my heart to do. Now, it may be something that you just thought that you wanted to try, but when you get tired, I'm gonna still be going because it's in my heart to do. As long
Absolutely. As I love it.
Then you just keep moving. Don't worry about what they're doing. You can't look up. look over here. I got my thing, y'all. I was trying to
Oh,
set this
you
up.
good?
You say, look over here. You got to continue to keep your eyes on God and what He has told you to do, even if it gets tough. Keep your eyes on God, and He's gonna guide you. He's
I
gonna
love it.
you know.
You done gave us a sermon too, sis. I love it. That's why I knew you had to, hey, look, I knew you had to come correct. Hey, listen, it's interesting you said that about that. I think you're right. I think there's a lot of people doing stuff, but when it's in your heart and your purpose to do it, you're going to keep working your way through. I don't know. You know who Kev on Stage is?
Yes.
Have you heard of him?
Yes.
So, he's a funny dude, man. And every so often he'll come and do a little serious video. I remember, never forget this. It stuck out to me. He did this one video and he was talking about, he said people were just giving him some clap back because now he was showing about he's going on tour and doing these shows and selling merchandise and whatever. He said all these people were coming and try to clap back at me on that because of what I was doing or what doors were opening. Sis, I can't remember if it was every day or every week. It might have been every day. He said he did a video. It might have been every week for 7 years with nothing, zero, nothing.
Wow.
Yeah, 7 years, not days, 7 years.
Right.
7 years. And I was like, what? And I don't remember if it was day or week, but either one, it's still 7 years.
Right.
Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. 7 years of that. And the fact that, but it was purpose in his heart to do. Right. And, if you remember, before he did that, you remember he was with a group of people and there was about 3 of them and they used to do church-based skits. There were 3 guys. There was Kev on Stage and there were 2 other dudes and they used to do these skits and they're funny and I can't remember the name of them from the top of my head. But anyway, the point is when it's purpose in your heart, keep going. Because those other people flash in the pan and show up or whatever, when the lights turn low or when you don't get that kind of traction or that kind of feedback, are you willing to keep going?
That's right. And if there is only one person watching, and I think God was preparing me when I was doing the reading the Bible with Joanne, sometimes I come on that thing, I'm like, Lord, because my reason for not wanting to come do a live video, because I'm like, Lord, I'm gonna be out here trying to talk and ain't nobody gonna be on this thing, just have one person reading. And so God was testing, I believe, He was testing me to see if I would be faithful and continue to do what He's called to do. So even with this talk show, if I only have 50 people, 5 people, whatever, I know this is what God told me to do. He confirmed it 4 times in one morning last week. Because I question every week. I question every week. I'm just being serious. Because it ain't him, And I question every week. And he confirmed it 4 times that morning within about 30 minutes to an hour, back to back to back to back. He confirmed it. And I was like, okay, Lord, we're going to keep going. And we just keep going. And He keeps providing. He keeps showing Himself to me that I told you to do this. That means I'm going to provide. That means this is going to be taken care of if you do it the way I tell you to do it. And I'm like, okay, Lord, well, hey, if you say so, then we're going to do it. We're going to keep moving.
Absolutely. I appreciate your stick-to-it-iveness and just sticking with it. And like you said, man, there's nothing like getting that confirmation, and I was telling my girl before we got on, like, you never know the people who are listening to what you have to say or listening to your guests. And you know what I'm saying? Like, if you just affect one person's life, then it's all worth it. I think what ends up happening is that you can be so, and there's nothing wrong with it. You said in the beginning, talking about analytics and stuff like that and numbers. And of course you need it. That's important. But people get so, you don't want to water down your content or what you've been called to do just for likes and comments and numbers, right? And you see that all the time, is that people become something or someone that they're not in order to get that kind of. So what are you doing it for? Are you doing it for the dopamine effect so you can feel good, so you can get a high because someone commented? Or is this thing really reaching people, right? Is this thing really impacting lives? And I think one of the things that you're doing is, you're impacting a lot of people's lives, man, and you don't even know. And a lot of those things are seeds that you're planting, and you don't know when those seeds are going to sprout up and produce that fruit,
Right. Well, it's a blessing to me. It really is, to know that God chose me to do this and that He is leading me and He is guiding in guiding it every step of the way. Because again, every week I'm like, Lord, are you sure this is what you still want me to do?
Right.
Are you sure?
Right.
This is looking really scary now, you know.
Uh-huh.
But I'm telling you, Pete, God is a man of his word. And, you know, if he said it, then he will do it. If he said it, we believe it. Maverick City Singers, you know, I just love Chandler,
Hey.
Dante Bowe and all of them, you know, but I'm telling you, God, he is a true man of his word. And if he said it, then I believe it. And that's it. You know,
I love it.
hear and I guess since this came to, you know, sometimes you don't have to say everything that comes to your mind, but I feel like this, you know, God, you know, he is a man of his word, and he is the only one and true living God. I'm not bashing people about how they say God or how they do this, but God is
Right.
the one and true living God. And I don't worship the universe. I don't say God, the universe is no. I worship the God who created the universe. And I don't know if that means anything to anybody else, but that means a whole bunch to me.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
Hallelujah.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry.
Well,
God is
no, you're good. Hey.
It's just been too good to me to give credit to
Already.
something else or somebody else, or even for me to try to take credit myself. He has been too good to me. He has protected me. He has brought me out of situations that, you know, sometimes I felt like I always, you know, I felt like just a couple of weeks ago, or even, a couple of weeks ago, I felt like my character was being attacked and all of this stuff. And I'm like, well, Lord, you know, I don't want to be worrying about what people think, but then you want your character to be intact. You don't want people to just be thinking that, you know, you're this bad person, or you did this or you did that, when somebody's trying to make you look bad. And so even it was Thursday, I think it was last Thursday or Friday, but it was like out of the blue, God just proved it to me that he had my back. And it didn't matter what anybody else does. I don't have to try to get back at nobody. I don't have to try to get vengeance from nobody, because in the midst of that thing, God said, I'm going to bring this thing back around full circle. And Thursday, Pete, I said Thursday.
Hey, come on. Thursday.
God did the thing. He did it. And I'm like, well, I don't have to worry. Not saying that worry won't come and, you know, all of that, but I don't have to worry. I don't have to try to fight my own battles. I'm going to tell you this story, and I'm going to let you keep talking, because, you know, it's like 8:10. We've been on here for a minute. But I remember in high school, we were on the bus, and this is when God showed me sometimes I don't even have to fight my own battles. We were on the bus, and there was this girl. She was getting off the bus, and she's just all up in I don't know why she was all up in my face. I don't know why we were supposedly fighting or whatever, arguing, but she just all up in my face, talking about what she gonna do. I could not open my mouth. I could not move. I was like literally I couldn't move. And that was so embarrassing, because I couldn't move. I couldn't push her out of my face. I could not move. The next day, we're on the bus. She's getting off the bus, and she's gonna do it again, but she's gonna do it with my friend. And she got to my friend's face, and that girl whooped her all upside down under the seat on that bus. And God was like, see, I fight for you. You don't have to. You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
Does that make sense? I was
like, absolutely. I'm with you. I am right there with you.
So I'm going to trust you to fight these battles for me, especially when I know that I haven't done anything wrong. You know,
absolutely.
I'm just going to trust God to fight the battle, and, you know, the truth always outrun a lie, and all of this stuff that, you know, all of that stuff that they say. But God, he fights.
Absolutely.
He fights for me.
So you didn't know that word was coming, y'all. I didn't know we were going to get down this road, but that's cool. I mean, I was like, someone out there, you know, need to hear that and be inspired by. But as we bring this thing to a close, and just tell us a little bit more about, I know you're continuing to do the show, but what's next for you in terms of the show and the magazine? And then tell us all how we can connect with you, because as I said in the beginning, we want to resource people. How do we connect with you so we can support you, whether it be your book or the show or the magazine?
Okay, so what's next is we're trying to expand. Right now, we are on Facebook, YouTube, and on JSU TV. We're working on getting on a station in Meridian. Also, there are several other stations that they want us to be on, but we have to pay for it. So I'm working on getting sponsors. So hey, if y'all listening, you want to sponsor the show,
yes,
you want to, and I don't normally ask this, but you got to do what you have to do to continue to keep moving forward.
absolutely.
Donate, sponsor the show, you can cash app money sign JOANNEBELLMAG, Joanne Bell Mag. We take all donations, but you can reach us. We're on Facebook at Woman to Woman with Joanne. Then we have a Woman to Woman with Joanne, the magazine page. Also on our website, which is womantowomanwithjoanne.com.
Okay.
And donate button on there, but you can reach out. You can email us that way. My email address is joanne@womantowomanwithjoanne.com. So it's just simple. Everything is Woman to Woman with Joanne.
Hey, that's it. It's all uniform. It's all synergistic. Yeah. So what we'll do, Joanne, is we'll make sure we include the information after the show.
Okay.
In the comments, so we can be able to connect with you guys and be able to support you. And I'll just say this, and she didn't tell me to say this, but now I know her. Everything we do in support of others is like planting a seed. And I'm telling you this from my heart. If you support this woman and her vision and what she's trying to do in her show, and you do decide to cash app her, that is good ground, y'all. There's different grounds. Like today, the ground is hard, so you probably don't want to go plant something in the ground. It ain't gonna grow because it's hard. It's snow. But when you can till the ground and it's soft soil and you can plant some seeds, you're going to produce a harvest. So if you plant a seed and invest your time and energy and resources in Joanne and what she's doing, y'all, I'm telling you, it's good ground. I know it firsthand. And like you said, I think it's important. Sometimes we have not, but we ask not. And when we're doing this kind of platform, it's not free.
Right.
Yeah, you can get on Facebook Live and do for free, but if you're doing any kind of other thing through this, like we have our own network going through this broadcast network, Jericho Broadcast Network, or you're doing it at the studio, it ain't free, everybody. No matter how passionate we are, and we're passionate about what we try to do, it ain't for free. It costs money. And as I said earlier, Joanne has children and a family and bills, and she's still got responsibility. So unfortunately, though we love it, we can't sink all our resources into what we're trying to do. Else, like you said, we're gonna be broke.
That's right. Exactly.
So please, y'all, seriously, if y'all know me, I'm not gonna get up and put on no one on no stage, no front stage that I don't believe in, that I don't have a relationship with somewhat, that I know of somewhat. So guys, please go ahead and consider supporting her and pick up the book too. Can they get the book through one of those mediums?
So the book is Fear Was My Friend. It's on Amazon.com, but if you want an autographed copy, just go to my website. That's JOANNE at woman, and it's WOMANTO.
Okay.
WOMAN, Woman to Woman with Joanne.com. So Joanne at Woman to Woman with Joanne.com. There's a shopping link on there. You can find the book. You can find our new t-shirts that we have. Choose one of those t-shirts. I love all of them.
I need a small, by the way, ASAP, but I'll talk to you off air.
Yes. So
I'm a girl one.
So the t-shirts, the book, and in the magazine. We still have some on hand of any of the magazines that you choose, and we use agency printing, which is here in Jackson, Mississippi. Yep. So they can print a copy. I'm trying to keep that light from coming through, but they print copies. If I email them Monday, Wednesday, I got copies and I can get it to you. So whatever, it's just go to our website. You can choose the book and donate button. All of that stuff is there.
Sweet. Well, guys, please go ahead and do that. And like I said, this is good ground. She's just doing phenomenal work, man. Look, just proud of you. I saw that first episode. It just did me good, man, to see my girl Rita be up there and just share her courageous stuff I didn't know. I mean, I don't know her like that, but for someone to get up there and share their story like that, and her being a more of a public figure than many people, that was courageous, man. That was real courageous. So listen, keep doing what you're doing. We appreciate you. We love you. We're going to support you. And you know me, we ain't gonna just give you no lip service, but we're gonna support you with our energy and our viewing. And like you said, the books and other resources that you have, this thing is real. And you're, as I said in the intro, man, you're impacting many lives through what you're doing. So continue to do it. Thank you so much for being part of the show, man. We appreciate it. Continued success in all of what you're doing. Guys, go ahead and support her. And guys, we bring it to a close. We just want to say thank you for taking your time out to check out this episode. It's a little long, but we never know where it's going to go. Joanne was like, well, what's the format going to be? I'm just like, yo, just be yourself. We got a couple of questions that I have in my mind, and where it goes, we never really know sometimes. And just people go off and just share that passion and heart. And that's what we heard. I don't know if y'all got that, but what I got out of this thing is this woman is passionate about what she's doing, what she's called to do, about God, about the things surrounding God, about her story, and really about giving a platform to other women, to inspire women, not just in the state of Mississippi, but using Mississippi as a foundation to inspire women around the world and men, as you said. Because look, I don't know about anybody else. I need to understand women better. Yeah. I need to understand my lady better and other people that I work with. I think, so it's all about improvement and getting better. So guys, thank you so much again. We will see you guys next week. Man, we got a great show coming up next week. I'm letting you know. So just stick with us, man. Stay tuned. I hope this helps someone. If it doesn't help you, pass along to someone that it can help. I told people in the beginning, Joanne, that you chew the meat and spit the bones out. You know what I mean? And you take what you need and pass it along to someone else. That's what we're all about. I know that's what Joanne's show is about too. So guys, thank you so much. We'll see you next week. Until that time, continue to be safe and check in on each other. It's very important, y'all. Peace. We'll see you next week.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids' apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.